welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Michael Ayala. We continue now with our coverage of the hearing for Scott Peterson. He's seeking a new trial claiming juror misconduct. We've been listening to arguments all afternoon, essentially both sides arguing over the credibility of Rochelle Nice, whether she intentionally misled the court to get on the jury and that she had bias that led to an unfair result in this case. We're going to take you back into court in just a moment as they're beginning to wrap things up out there. But before I do that, let me bring in my guest for this hour. With me, criminal defense attorney David Bruno, also federal executive clemency attorney Tammy Allison, and legal analyst and former Court TV correspondent Beth Karras. They're all with me. First and foremost, thank you all for joining me this evening, and thank you for your patience. You all know the vagaries of live court, and that's just the way it kind of goes. Tammy, let me start with you. We know what's at issue here. The issue is the credibility of Rochelle Nice, and they've gone through all these arguments. All of it pointed towards why this judge should believe Rochelle Nice or why she shouldn't. What do you think the judge is going to do here?
You know, honestly, Michael, I think the judge is not going to rule in the favor of Scott Peterson. I don't think that her leaving out some of these particulars is going to amount to jury misconduct or any type of bias. I think that the prosecutors raising the case law, and that case law was very strong, stating that 2021 decision in that juror in that case where they sat on a capital murder trial before and they forgot to mention it did not amount to any type of jury misconduct that would result in a conviction being vacated or a sentence being vacated at a new trial. I think it's pretty similar here, as well as the fact that Mark Garagos was aware that this juror also cited in her juror questionnaire that she could not be fair. So he did know about that. So I don't think the judge is going to be buying the Scott Peterson's attorney's argument.
You know, that's an interesting point. And Beth, I want to go to you because earlier today, you had a really interesting take on that infamous question now. It's now infamous, 97A, where essentially Rochelle Nice says very clearly, the question is, do you think you can be unbiased because of all the publicity? Remember, the extremely highly publicized case back in the day. And she says no. She says no, it was missed by the attorneys. They tried to fluff it off that it was some kind of mistake, that they thought maybe the juror had made a mistake. I'm not buying it. But you had a real interesting take. Your thoughts on that 97A issue?
I believe that if she had a bias against Scott Peterson and really wanted to be on this jury, she would have answered yes to that question. She would not have answered no. The purpose of a questionnaire is so that lawyers can get some insight into the mindset of potential jurors, and they can question them about it. And no one questioned her about it. Cliff Gardner, on behalf of Scott Peterson, said, look, you know, it had to be a mistake on her part because he can't believe, basically, that the attorneys did not question her about it. Like, they wouldn't have intentionally glossed over that. But I want to also just note that in the court's analysis, as a couple-step process, the judge first has to determine if Rochelle Nice committed misconduct. And that's why what's critical here is whether or not her answers or failure, her omissions, failure to state certain things about her past in the questionnaire were intentional or not. A lie is an intentional misstatement of fact. A mistake is a mistake. So the judge is going to start there. Now, Cliff Gardner at one point today said, look, it doesn't matter if it was intentional or not, but it is part of the analysis. Did she intend to leave out that she was a witness or a party or a victim? And she gives explanations under oath at a hearing earlier this year why she just misunderstood and didn't consider herself any of those.
Absolutely, and quite frankly, I buy some of them, although we did hear today, David Bruno, some compelling arguments by the defense as to why the judge shouldn't buy her explanations. But it occurs to me that they're imparting a lot of sophistication as far as the law is concerned to this juror if this judge is going to believe that she intentionally misled the court. Your thoughts on that issue?
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, there's several different issues here. I want to zero in on the fact that she was a victim of domestic violence. I'm a former homicide prosecutor, and I'm on the defense side. I've been on the defense side for 9 years. And if I were trying that case, that would be absolute reason for peremptory challenges, if not cause. That she was a victim of domestic violence with an unborn child. And we saw that restraining order, a piece of that today, where she, in fact, puts her name and her unborn child as victims being protected by that protective order. That's the biggest thing for me. Is that misconduct? The factual decision has to be made. And like Beth said, once you get past misconduct, then it has to be prejudicial.
Yes.
And that's why they're trying to get the letters in. That's why they're trying to get the statements about television and books and things like that.
Yep.
And about the little man, because they need to carry two questions. They need to get past misconduct and that it mattered and it would be different in prejudicial.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting. I think this goes either way, but I'm hurt by being a defense attorney to know that that was kept from the court and the defense attorneys. I think that's very material to the case, given that the Scott Peterson case involved a wife and an unborn child.
Absolutely. And I think the whole issue, especially at 97A, puts the judge in a very difficult position. All right, guys, stand by. I do want to get our viewers back into court now as they're going to wrap up the